This is Allison Spindell at the Attorney General's report. Before the break, we were talking about Breast Cancer Awareness Month. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And in honor of that, we're delighted to have Ilana Silber. She's the executive director of Sharsheret, a national not-for-profit organization that supports women and men with breast and ovarian cancer and their families. And they have headquarters here in the tri-state area. Ilana also chairs the CDC's Federal Advisory Committee on Breast Cancer. Thank you so much, Ilana, for being with us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's really an honor to be part of the program. You guys do amazing work, and we are very happy to talk about breast cancer during this month of recognition.
Amazing, amazing. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do at Sharsheret?
So Sharsheret is an organization that provides support, education, information to women and families who are at risk or diagnosed with breast cancer and ovarian cancer. We have a team of social workers and a genetic counselor who speak to one-on-one to women and their family members. And we have a robust educational program that educates adults of all ages, starting on college campuses and in communities, about their risk and the measures they can take to protect their health.
Wow. So Sharsheret is a Jewish organization, but you serve anyone. Is that correct?
So Sharsheret is a Jewish organization, and our expertise is in younger women and Jewish families, but Sharsheret's programs serve women and men of all backgrounds. In fact, more than 20% of those who reach out to Sharsheret for support are not Jewish. But people like to reach out to Sharsheret because of the one-on-one support that we offer. When you reach out to Sharsheret, you're the only person in the room, and that all of our programs are free, confidential, and accessible.
Amazing. So why don't you tell us some signs and symptoms people should look out for?
Okay, so the first thing to do is to know your body, know your breasts. That's very important. And whenever you see a change in something that you don't recognize, it's time to call your doctor. Always check with a healthcare professional. Sometimes there could be discharge from a nipple. Sometimes there could be a dent in your breast. Sometimes it could look like a rash. Anytime you see anything, many times it might not be anything, but it's important to take it to your healthcare professional. And there are guidelines that everyone should be taking into account. Everyone at the age of 40 should have an annual mammogram, and everyone should have a physical exam at any age to know their risk. And then if you're at high risk, you would begin your mammogram earlier. And high risk could mean if someone, a first-degree relative, had breast cancer at a certain age and that was not 40, then you would start those mammograms and those screenings 10 years prior to that diagnosis. Mm-hmm. So if someone's mom was diagnosed at 45, a woman would start her mammograms at 35. And also talk to doctors about additional screenings for younger women many who have dense breasts. They're recommending also sonograms.
So you mentioned genetics before. We're learning so much more all the time and making so many scientific discoveries. So tell us how genetics play a role in breast cancer. I mean, we've been hearing about Beyonce's
really
father.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think we overlapped. You could finish.
I was asking about genetics, but also we've been seeing in the news Beyonce's father has been talking about genetics, and hopefully that'll get the information out. But can you tell us what the role that genetics will play?
Okay, so that is important. In the media, you're going to see a lot of attention surrounding breast cancer genetics, and especially with Beyonce's father being diagnosed or announcing last week that he has a BRCA2 mutation. There are two very significant genes that play a role in breast cancer and ovarian cancer. They're called BRCA1 and BRCA2, and most people call it BRCA. If you are a woman who carries a BRCA gene mutation, your risk for breast cancer shoots up from 12% to 85% chance in your lifetime. And it's important to note that men also could carry the mutation, and it increases their risk for male breast cancer, but also for pancreatic cancer, for melanoma, and prostate cancer. So knowing your genetic status can help protect your health. So the most well-known are BRCA1 and 2. So there is a genetic test out there that you can take, and there are measures you can take to protect your health if you're positive for the genetic mutation. And now they've identified additional mutations that are going through families that don't increase your risk as much as BRCA, as much as BRCA, but also increase risk and can be important to identify so that you can take measures like increased surveillance to catch breast cancer in its earliest stages. When breast cancer is caught in its earliest stages, it can be cured. So that's the whole goal of genetics. And there are certain populations that have an increased hereditary risk.
Really? So what populations are those?
So it runs the gamut, but there's a concentration in the Jewish community, in the Ashkenazi Jewish community. Those are Jews who originated from Eastern Europe. And if you have one Jewish grandparent, it can increase your risk. One grandparent who came from Eastern European Jewish ancestry. And that 1 in 40 Jews of Ashkenazi descent, both men and women, carries a BRCA, a BRCA gene mutation, compared to 1 in 500 in the general population. So what's good about genetics is that you might be able to identify a risk, and you can take measures to protect your health. If you're at increased risk, you don't necessarily have to wait for cancer to strike.
Are there other populations in addition to the Jewish population, the Jewish Ashkenazi population, that are at risk?
So when we talk about risk, there are actually, and especially with younger women, and those are women who are active premenopausal generally, there are two populations that are mentioned in a bill that was passed by Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz. It's called the Early Act, and it focuses on educating younger women about their risk. And the two populations that are identified in the bill are African American women and Ashkenazi Jewish women. So they are considered at increased risk for breast cancer, and it's very important for us to raise awareness and to educate these young women about their increased risk so they can go for increased surveillance, they can speak to their doctors, and they are watching for breast cancer so it can be caught in its earliest stages if they should be diagnosed. Okay.
And if a person does receive a diagnosis, what kinds of things does Sharsheret do for how do you help people? And we're gonna have to go for a break.
We're gonna wrap up in a minute.
We're actually gonna wrap up in a minute. So tell us a little bit about what Sharsheret can do after if they receive a diagnosis.
Okay, so once you're diagnosed with breast cancer, it's very overwhelming. There's a lot of information out there. Some of it's reliable, some of it's not reliable. People tend to go Google. We say do not Google. Call Sharsheret. There's a social worker or a genetic counselor waiting to speak with you, and they create a plan. They help you understand the next step in your experience. What kind of doctors? We have a whole list of who's who on your treatment team and who you should speak to and what kind of questions you can ask. Sharsheret creates that plan, brings all the information together that's relevant to you and your family so that you can make informed decisions about your treatment and get support from other women through our national peer support network.
So that sounds amazing. How can people learn more about your resources? How can they take advantage?
So Sharsheret is wherever you are. If you go online, our website is sharsheret.org. We have a toll-free number, 866-474-2774. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram, Sharsheret1 on Instagram. We're on YouTube. And people can reach out to us on our website at any time. We have people on staff till 8 o'clock at night Eastern Time. And then also you can use live chat on our website and 24/7.
Alana, this is Gary Brown. Thanks so much for calling in. Very informative call. We really appreciate it. We've got to sign off the air. So, folks, thanks for listening. We'll be back with another edition of the Attorney General's Report in November. It'll be on a special date of November 26th next month, and we'll be just before Black Friday, so we'll be talking about Black Friday shopping hints and shopping hints throughout the holiday season. On behalf of Tamar Tate and Allison Spindell and Attorney General Letitia James, thanks for listening. Talk to you next month.
1460 WVOX, WVIP, 8 WVIP.